Good evening, everyone. This is the Raleigh Board of Selectmen meeting of April 8th, 2019. Would you please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This meeting is being audio and video recorded. We will have a period of public comment from 7:05 to 7:10. We have a public hearing that will begin at 7:15. So I'll now get into general business until then. Taking up general business number 1, which is a request from the Raleigh Public Library to hold the annual Vehicle Day on the Town Common. We have a short memo from Miranda Griffiths of the Raleigh Public Library. She said, "We wish to hold our annual vehicle night on the Town Common on July 18 from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. with vehicles arriving at 6 p.m. and a rain date of August the 1st. This event brings together a diverse set of community helpers and members and showcases the many vehicles that serve our town. Children and families are able to get an up-close and personal look at these vehicles, which will include an action ambulance, Raleigh fire truck, Raleigh police car, Rowdy Ready Mix cement mixer, mail truck, garbage truck, antique trailer, and many more. We anticipate around 200 people to be in attendance." Someone want to make it?
I'll second.
Motion to approve the event has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. General business number 2 is a request from the Friends of the Council on Aging to hold an annual yard sale fundraiser at the Town Hall Annex, 39 Central Street, on May 18th, 2019. Someone want to make a motion to approve that event?
Give you that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion to approve the event has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. General business number 3 is a request from the PEG Access Director Janet Morrison to lift the hiring freeze for the position of production technician. Current technician Lynn Lutraskowski, hope I got close to pronouncing her name right, is going to be reducing her hours to an on-call status. Janet is asking the selectmen to lift the hiring freeze so that she can post this position.
Motion.
Second.
Motion to lift the hiring freeze has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, we'll move on to new business. New business number 1, to sign the May 14, 2019 annual town election warrant. Okay, we have the warrants before us, so I guess I'll call for as a motion.
I'll give you that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion to sign the warrant is made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. So there are a number of copies here. I guess they all need to be signed.
Like signing for a mortgage.
Yes.
Anybody still need to sign in?
Joe?
Yeah, well,
Oh, okay.
we've already mentioned that.
Oh,
Thank you. Okay, moving on to new business number 2, which is to review the zoning board of appeals application filed by Michael Bontos, DBA Rowley Auto Parts, appealing the inspector of buildings decision for property at 164 Boxford Road. We have a separate agenda item at 7:30, which is a license revocation hearing concerning the same property. This is a different matter. It's simply an opportunity for the Board of Selectmen to review the appeal that Michael Bontos recently filed with the Zoning Board of Appeals and to determine whether we have any comments. And looking through it, I don't see anything for the board to comment on.
I have no
Okay.
comment.
no comments.
Okay, moving on to old business, number 1, which is the Pine Grove School project update. Joe, do you have anything to update us on?
I don't have anything new. We are on schedule. Everything. We're moving into phase 4, and we only have phase 5 ahead of us, which we will have a very busy summer from the close of school on June 14th until Labor Day. But everything is progressing very well, and they're still on schedule.
Okay, great, thank you. Old business number 2 is the fire station and police station addition project update. The project is moving along. The contractor is working on the landscaping, and the paving should be done next week. The contractor is also working through the punch list items. The fire department will be moving into their building by May 1st. An open house is being planned for both buildings in either May or June. So Debbie, that's an open house for members of the public? Is that what that's about? So that will be announced at a later time?
We're not ready yet to.
Right. Okay, old business number 3 is to sign the memorandum of agreement with the Massachusetts Coalition of Police Local 360. Debbie, we've already approved the agreement, right? So we just,
The selectmen need to vote on this tonight.
Oh, we do?
And sign it.
okay. Okay, we've already discussed the terms.
Yes.
So unless there's any further discussion, ask for a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement.
I'll give you a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion to approve the agreement has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Old business number 4 is to sign the memorandum of agreement with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFSCME Local 2905. Again, we've already discussed the terms of the agreement. Unless there's further discussion, I'll call for a motion.
Give you that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion to approve the collective bargain agreement has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it.
Cliff, this is the second one. Second page.
Thank you. Okay, old business. Number 5 is to review the annual special town meeting warrants. Really don't want to get, as I said, we have a public hearing in 3 minutes, so I really don't want to get into this until after the public hearing. So instead, I'll use next 3 minutes by reading announcements. Earth Day event co-hosted by the Rowley Open Space Committee and the YMCA on Saturday, April 20th at the Dodge Reservation at Camp Cedar Mill, 390 Weathersfield Street from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., rain or shine. The event is a day of fun for the whole family. Events include yoga at 9 a.m., trail clearing from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., YMCA Health Kids programs and exhibits, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., a community hike. For more information, call the Y at 978-376-1102 or the Conservation Office at 978-948-2330. The town meeting will be held on May 6, 2019 at 7 p.m. at the Pine Grove School. The annual town election will be held on May 14, 2019 from noon to 8 p.m. at St. Mary's Church. The town has the following vacancies: the Agricultural Commission Associate, the Cultural Council, the Deputy Shellfish Constables, 2 positions. For more information on these positions, please contact the Selectmen's Office at 948-2372. The food pantry is in need of donations. They can be left at the Rowley Public Library. The food pantry is open on Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and on Thursdays from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m.
If I could just make a comment on the town meeting, we'll be at the renovated all-purpose room, and you will be amazed at the job that they've done in that room. It really looks great. And take a good look at the cafeteria side. They did a fantastic job there also.
And my favorite change is the fact that they've reduced the size of the stage to bring it down
Yes.
just a couple feet above floor level, which I think is a huge improvement.
Huge.
Are the new chairs in?
Hmm?
The new chairs?
New chairs,
New chairs.
yes. We do,
That's big.
we do have chairs. Yep. New chairs.
Okay, so we have now have a public hearing on an earth removal application filed by Anthony Franciosa of Kings Oak Properties LLC to remove soil from 108, 112, and 116 Bennett Hill Road, Rowley. We determined that recently that the applicant has not properly notified abutters of this public hearing. The applicant requested a certified abutters list from the assessor's office for only one of the 3 lots listed in the application. That's 112 Bennett Hill Road, and did not request certified abutters list for 108 and 116 Bennett Hill Road. The assessor's office has confirmed that if the lists were requested for the other 2 lots, there would have been more names of abutters than on the list for just the 1 lot requested. When the town is conducting a public hearing and we determine that abutters have not been properly notified, we are legally unable to proceed with the hearing. So the options to the applicant, is the applicant here, by the way? Could you identify yourself, please?
Anthony Franciosa.
Thank you. So the options are, and we would recommend the first one, is that you withdraw your application without prejudice, and we will proceed with it at a later time. Barring that, I think really we have no alternative but to dismiss the application without prejudice, and we'll then take it up at a different time. Potential new hearing dates would be April 29 at 6:30 p.m. or May 13 or 17 p.m. We cannot do April 29 since that is the date of the, we're going to have informational hearings on the warrants. So, could you tell us what your response?
And I'm sorry, what was the second date?
May 13.
May 13. Okay. Well, what I'd like to do is just chat with the board for a moment. There does seem to be some confusion. And I found out this afternoon, sometime maybe around 1 o'clock or so when I checked my email, that an abutter had come in. They referred to themselves as a direct abutter who had not been notified, which is absolutely false. There is no truth to that. There's no truth to that.
Excuse me?
Ma'am, you're not a direct abutter to lot
Let him talk, please.
3, 4, or 5. The direct abutters to lots 3, 4, and 5, 108, 112, and 116 are lot 2 and lot 6. There is no other direct abutter. Additionally, the assessor's office on their earth removal form, and I'll just show this to the board in the event that they're not familiar with it. The abutter's office does a radius of 300 feet around the lot lines. Your ordinance states that the abutters within 200 feet of the lot, direct abutters, or abutters within 200 feet of the lot, whether they're across the street or direct, need to be notified. So when I talked to the assessor's office, they told me, well, we always do 300 feet, and if we were to do 300 feet, your list may change. They couldn't give me that input this afternoon because Rosemary left at 2 o'clock and I've heard that the assessor is out on medical leave. Therefore, there's no real proof in hand right now that I am in error or in violation of not notifying the abutters. Now, this lady feels she's a direct abutter, but I have the plan and that is not true. There's also 209 feet, give or take, from, if you go straight down the lot line. Now, if you broadcast that radius, I'm not quite sure where that falls. But the two abutting lot lines between her lot, I believe, because I think you're the only abutter, potential abutter that might not have been notified, is 216 feet. Therefore, by your regulation, she wouldn't have needed to be notified anyway. So, that being said, I'd like to open the hearing, and if you'd like to discuss it, that's fine. Otherwise, I'm willing to continue to the next available meeting in order to work with the assessor's office to make sure if any abutters were left off of the list in error, they could be notified. I'd be more than happy to notify all the abutters that there's been a continuance so that everybody's on the same page. I just don't want to have to withdraw my application, incur, and again, incurring the expense of the advertising and the abutters list isn't the issue. Timing is more of the issue. I'd like to put this to rest, and I'd like to get the sites cleaned up, and I'd like to get the fill removed so that we can landscape and everybody can have a nice finished product out there, and everybody goes on their merry way. So I think that there's some discrepancy with how the abutters list was devised, how they may devise an additional abutters list. If they go by 300 feet and your regulation states 200 feet, then somebody's got an issue. Now, realistically, with the 300 feet, I may have already notified abutters that I didn't need to notify. And again, if someone has been left off in error, I'm more than happy to correct that. But I don't feel that we should postpone this hearing this evening with the evidence that I've presented tonight.
Well, this form clearly says special permit, earth removal, 300 feet. So, this certified.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So, in your packet, you have, in there, the applicant said the town requires abutters within a 200-foot radius to be notified. That's, what he's referring to is on the earth removal bylaw. There, if you go to, and it's in your packet, section D, procedure, number 4. This is for the applicant shall consist, the application shall consist of the following: an operation plan indicating, and there's a list of 15 items that must be in the operation plan. And one of those items is the name and address of the operation plan, by the way. Name and address of all abutting owners, including those across any streets in use of all land within 200 feet of the boundaries of the land covered by the application. That pertains to the operation plan. We do have in the bylaw a provision on how the application is submitted, and that does follow the regulations, and it's clearly in the Board of Selectmen's regulations of 300 feet, and it follows the procedure under Chapter 40A, which is the 300 feet. But the reference to the 200 feet pertains to the operation plan that's submitted that has to show the abutters. It's not the certified abutters list for the mailing of the hearing notice.
Right. Although I can appreciate why someone would get confused,
They
but
may
that,
be confused, it is in the
but that
regulations.
is the case.
And it's clearly in the regulations for the earth removal that it's 300 feet.
Right.
And additionally, in good faith, I got 2 abutters lists, actually. I got one on, I believe, March 6th, and when I reviewed that, I noticed that one of the properties that we had previously owned had transferred. So in order to make sure I was doing the right thing, I contacted the abutters, the assessor's office again, and they generated another list for me. So I feel like I've done my due diligence, I feel like I've acted in good faith, and I feel like I've notified everybody via, or everybody that I thought anyway should have been notified via the certified abutters list, as well as the 2 newspaper ads. So again, believe me, I don't want to bypass anybody's right to be noticed. However, in good faith and in, just from a timing standpoint, again, more than happy to work with the abutters office tomorrow, the assessor's office tomorrow, to get on what they feel or what this office feels is an accurate list. And if I need to, if someone on that list does pop up that needs to be notified, I'm more than happy to notify that individual or party.
Okay, Libby, did you want to, because your name was mentioned, so.
Yes, in the butter to all of the properties except for the one at the corner. When we looked over the list on Friday, because I didn't know about it, of course, but it was only by chance that I found out. So.
And you received no notice?
No.
Yeah.
But again, I've
And I
got the
wasn't
plan
on
if
any
you'd
of
like
the-
to see it,
But-
because ma'am, you're truly not a direct abutter to those 3 lots anymore. You used to be an abutter to the entire parcel, but now you're only a direct abutter to lot 6 and lot 1. Lot 3, 4, and 5 are not direct abutters to your property.
That's
So I could understand why she'd have some confusion, but
Because if you look at the
Would you like me
assessor's
to-
maps, I'm a direct abutter to everything but the property at the corner.
these are the lots, right?
if that was the case, it may be that the assessors maps haven't been
Those 3 down here?
updated. But if I'm not mistaken, are you Mrs. Tucker?
186, yep.
Ms. Tucker?
186.
So these are the 3 lots in question, okay? You're a direct abutter to lot 6 and lot 1. So there's separation between lot 1, 2, and 6, between the lots in question. And initially, when I came in, I was asked to, the bulk of the material right now sits on lot 112, and maybe that's where some of the confusion came in. I was asked to add the other lots in because of the previous material that was removed, unfortunately, in error. However, and so I think that's where some of the confusion may have come in. But realistically, again, with all due respect, you're not a direct abutter anymore, and if you follow this line, which again, if you broadcast that line, I'm not quite sure just what the distance is, but there's 107, 108 feet there, or 208 feet there roughly. So.
Right, well, it is
Again.
300 feet, so I think we
Okay.
can
If
agree on
it is
that.
300 feet, again,
Yeah.
I did read the 200 feet in
Right.
the bylaw, and maybe that's where the confusion was on my point,
Yeah,
on my
no,
part.
that's understandable.
But again, in order to expedite, I just asked the board to consider opening the public hearing, continuing it until we can square away the
Okay.
abutters list.
Debbie,
and
you had something
go
to say?
from there.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, so when this application was filed, he filed for 3 addresses,
Right.
which is unusual, because the bylaw is, one application is tied to 1 lot. And so this probably should not have been submitted as 3. He should have probably filed 3 applications for the 3 addresses. He has 108 Bennett Hill, 112, 116. But we did allow it to come in under 1 application. But what he has to do is have 3 separate abutters lists for each address that he has listed here.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah,
and
I
I
think
do
that's
know,
true.
based on what the assessors have submitted today, that they only did an abutters list for 112 Bennett Hill Road. They state adding 108 Bennett Hill Road and 116 Bennett Hill Road will increase the listing of abutters. There may be some duplication, but there would be new names now added to that list. And that's where, when we identified this today, we realized that the applicant should have been getting 3 separate abutters lists.
Okay, anyone else want to talk about the issue of whether they're in a butter and they got notice? Rather than the merits, because we're clearly not going to get to that tonight. So, I mean, I think we have the discretion to, normally, we would not open a public hearing if there's an issue about abutters, but I think the resolution that you've suggested, I think we have the discretion to do that, namely, open the public hearing, continue it to a future date, and as long as there's the concerns with notifications to abutters have been eliminated, to then proceed to the merits. So I'd be willing to vote in favor of that.
A new application would not.
And it would not require a new application.
Just to have the discussion, right?
Pardon me?
Just to have the discussion?
Yes.
Yeah.
So is he going to file 3?
Well, I'm suggesting that he doesn't have to file anything new. He just has to meet with the assessor and get an abutters list for each of the lots.
Right, generate
Apply
3 abutters.
apply the 300-foot rule
Mhm.
and come in at a future time and demonstrate to us and to office staff that you've notified everyone that you need to notify. And then, and that they've been given the requisite amount of time. What is it, a 2-week notice or?
So, Mr. Chairman, are you saying there should be a revised public hearing notice then that has the date of the continued hearing to the abutters? How would they know then, what form of notification will Mr. Francois?
The notification that we're giving tonight, that we're going to continue the public hearing to
With
whatever
the
date it
date
is.
in it?
Yeah.
And as well, like I said, I'm more than happy to take that abutters list and consolidate it to make sure nobody gets left off, and send them a notice saying that the hearing has been continued to.
Yeah, but my point is they have, what is the requirement, 7 days advance?
Not less than 14 days.
Okay, so you need to give them not less than 14 days' notice before we can take the matter up again.
So that gives me, if the May date gives me roughly a month to get that accomplished, I can work this week with the assessor's office, make sure we have an accurate list,
Right.
and just make sure everybody gets notified accordingly.
So, Mr. Chairman, we were looking at the dates. I mean, April 22nd would be too soon to meet that 14-day threshold. The other option is on April 29th, the Selectmen will have an informational hearing. If the board wants to start a little early, take care of business, that's one option. Or May 6th is town meeting, so you can't do this then, or you have to push it out to May 13th.
May 13, okay with you?
I'd like to get it done the sooner the better, especially with the spring season upon us. I'd like to get the fill removed and landscaping complete. If the board is willing to meet a little early on 4/29, I can't imagine it'll take too long to.
Okay, well, fellow board members,
I
How do you
I
feel?
don't have a problem with the,
I don't.
earlier on
Okay.
the 29th. But how much earlier,
Well, that's, I was gonna ask.
I was suggesting 6:30, if the board wanted to start the selectmen's meeting a little early to take care of
Okay.
business such as this and other things.
Okay,
Um,
all right, so,
It's up to you, I don't.
okay, so I would ask for a motion to open the public hearing, but to continue the matter to April 29 at 6:30, to enable Mr. Francioso to give timely notice to all the abutters within 300 feet of each of the three lots, and to prove that to the board before we proceed with the merits of his case.
I'll give you that motion,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All's in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All's opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, thanks.
You were notified.
We were notified, yes.
See you on the 29th.
We'll be here on the- Thank you.
We're ready to go.
Okay, we now have a, this is also a public hearing. It's a license revocation hearing concerning Michael Bontos, DBA Rowley Auto Parts, 164 Boxford Road, Rowley Class 3 motor vehicle junk license and auto auction license.
Can you leave that to? Thank you.
Okay, the reasons for the possible or proposed revocation of the license include the licensed premises are not a place suitable for the purpose of practicing a Class 3 license within the meaning of General Law, Chapter 140, Section 59. Number two, the building inspector has issued a cease and desist letter to Mr. Bontos dated February 20th, 2019. Number three, the exercise of the licenses would appear to be in violation of the special permit issued by the Rowley Zoning Board of Appeals in case number 1507. And four, the premises are located in the Municipal Watershed Protection District where junk and salvage yards, including automobile graveyards as defined under General Laws, Chapter 140B, Section 1, are forbidden, and by Section 4.11.3.1, Paragraph P of the Rowley Protective Zoning Bylaw, and the premises are in relatively close proximity to the Boxford Road well. The third stated reason seems to be the primary reason to me. The reason I think we're here primarily is because the Board of Selectmen has previously issued a license to sell automobiles to Mr. Bontos, and that license was in violation of the aforementioned decision from the Zoning Board of Appeals, which clearly states that there shall be no sales of automobiles on the premises and no junk vehicles shall be stored on the premises. So according to the ZBA, the premises were to be used solely for the storage of automobiles and not for the sales of automobiles. So that being the case, it seems pretty clear to me that the license to auction automobiles needs to be revoked because it's in violation of the ZBA's opinion. Any comment from the applicant?
I assume you mean Mr. Bontos, Mr. Chairman. We are not applying for this when you call us the applicant, but yes.
Right, okay.
With that change, let me just say, historically speaking, this place, my name's Peter Ross. I represent Michael Bontos, who is to my left. And the premises that we're talking about have been the situs of auto auctions and salvage for over 45 years, that every year Mr. Bontos has come to the Board of Selectmen and the licenses have been issued. In 2015, Mr. Bontos went before the zoning board of appeals and obtained a special permit to now store and sell new cars.
Not to sell.
I stand corrected, to store, right. And that special permit was on the condition there's no junk or salvage cars on the premises. That was a very lucrative opportunity for Mr. Bontos, but it ended in August of 2017. So the special permit lapses. It's not being used anymore and hasn't since 2017. In which case, everything reverts back to the original non-conforming use. The condition is not attached to the land, it's attached to the special permit. And so the condition that you're citing no longer is applicable.
Because why?
Because it's a condition of the special permit to store new cars. It is not attached to the land. And I can give you a cite of a Massachusetts case. A condition of a special permit, or the case that I had, a variance, is only a condition to use the variance, or in this case, the special permit. But the special permit is not now being used. And this is a non-conforming use, historically, that has lasted 45 years. And so
I don't regard that as a legitimate distinction. I mean, the special permit is attached to the land. It says you can't store junk vehicles there, and you also can't sell vehicles. So,
okay, would you like the
that
case
being
citation about conditions and how they apply? I can give you a case when the courts have addressed this kind of an issue, and respectfully, they're not coming down on your side.
Well, there's all sorts of cases on all sorts of issues, Peter, as you and I well know, and
Yes, absolutely.
it seems pretty elementary to me. The ZBA has said, and that decision is still in effect, it hasn't been repealed or modified or revoked, that you can't sell vehicles and you can't maintain junk vehicles on the site. So I'm going to go by the ZBA's opinion, which means that the licenses that were issued to your client were clearly issued inappropriately. And in fact, if we had been notified, we, the Board of Selectmen, had been aware of the ZBA's decision, we never would have issued those licenses, but we weren't told about the ZBA's decision. So that's why we're here today. So unless you got a further argument, I'm going to ask the board for discussion and a vote.
Yeah, I want to say in addition, the building inspector's cease and desist has been appealed back to the ZBA. And that hearing starts a week from Wednesday.
Right.
And I think we're entitled to exhaust our administrative remedies before you act on it.
You're entitled, if in the event that the ZBA rules in your favor and also modifies its prior decision, you're entitled to apply for a new license.
If I may continue, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
The building inspector has before issued cease and desist that have been, to my client, that have been revoked by the ZBA. And I'm seeing a pattern here that we object. I don't know if that'll do us any good, but I think we're entitled to have our day in court and have a fair hearing before the ZBA
And you
about
are.
what the zoning issues are before this board rules on a zoning issue.
And you most certainly are, and we're not in any way suggesting that you don't have that day in court. I mean, you most certainly do. And again, if there's a change in the terms of the agreements, this board will abide by that. But right now, I think we're entitled to rely on the plain language of the agreement, which says that you can't sell automobiles.
You have that language in front of you.
Yes, I do.
Okay. I've got it in front of me, and it says something along the line. Therefore, the board votes to approve the special permit as requested under section 5.2 to be granted, subject to the following conditions. The owner will not store or allow to be stored any motor vehicle outside which are not verifiably registrable, have junk or salvage titles, or otherwise be inoperable. But that is a condition of the special permit. And it says that plainly in the zoning decision. And that special permit is no longer enforced.
Well, I guess that's where I disagree with you. I mean, it hasn't been modified, hasn't been revoked. It is still in force, and I believe it attaches to the land, the use of the land. One of the conditions you didn't read was, Mr. Bontos, DBA Raleigh Auto Parts will not be engaged in auto sales or auto repair business or any other business other than one which enables vehicles to be stored on the property for any purpose other than resale. So again, if you're not entitled to sell automobiles, I don't see how you're entitled to a license to sell automobiles. So, I mean, if this changes as a result of your appeal, we'll gladly revisit the issue.
And I'm going to cite now to the case of Rosenfield versus Zoning Board of Appeals of Mendon, 78 Mass. App. 677, saying, quote, "The conditions imposed by the variance operate as preconditions to the enjoyment of that relief. However, they do not operate independently to limit the permissible use of the property." And we have an independent basis other than special permit, and that's because it's a non-conforming use and has been on that site for over 45 years.
Well, again, I think we're beating a dead horse here. That's an issue you can bring to the ZBA, but I don't think it's one that we're authorized to entertain. So, unless there's further discussion or questions? Debbie, this time, should we proceed with a vote?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, so you have the option to revoke one or both of the licenses. So there's the Class 3 dealer and the auto auction permit.
Both of which prohibited by the ZBA's decision.
Yes, these are both involved in the sales
Right.
of salvaged cars, vehicles.
Or the sales of any car,
Yeah. You could also.
and then also is a prohibition on storing junk vehicles there.
You can suspend, you can condition it, there's some options that.
Okay, well, as I was saying, if the ZBA were to suddenly lift those restraints, I mean, he could, Mr. Bontos could reapply for these licenses, correct?
That's correct.
Right. So I would ask for a motion to terminate both licenses. for the
I'll make
reasons
that
we
motion.
stated.
I'll second.
Motion to terminate the licenses has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, we have an 8 o'clock public hearing, but it's 15 minutes from now. So all that's left is the warrant, I believe. Review the annual and special town meeting warrants.
Start going through the warrant.
Yeah, I guess we will. Okay, going through the warrant for the special town meeting. Well, I guess there's no other way of doing this other than going through one by one, Debbie?
Yeah, so I can kind of lead the board through this, and then if there's any
Okay.
questions. The first is standard article, the second, and by the way, this has been reviewed by town council in a rough draft form. The Article 2, it's the funding to, print the warrants, to hold a town meeting. Article 3 is an article from the library. They're repurposing some balance of funds from other projects to do an improvement to the heating and cooling system. Article 4 is a transfer from some unexpended funds in our health insurance line to fund the balance of the Essex Tech Agricultural School FY19 monies that we owe that school. Article 5, the cemetery board is transferring balances in a number of articles for a total of $18,000 for the purpose of replacing water lines that are damaged in the cemetery and replacing faucets. Article 6 is a transfer article from the police chief. There's $5,000 from his salary line to expense lines to cover police department expenditures. Article 7 is the capital article, capital spending article. We're seeking $136,583, and that would be used in a breakdown of $24,200 for technology upgrades for spans a wide variety of departments, $50,541 for the purchase of departmental equipment that, for the fire department, voting machines for the town clerk, portable radios for police, a mower deck for the highway department, $15,992 for facilities upgrades. This is a partial appropriation for work that needs to be done at the portion of the annex roof. Some heating pipe replacements at the annex, replacement of some doors that are not working properly at the town hall, and then $48,850 for the purchase of a highway department truck. Article 8 is a continuation of funding for the capital plan that we have of $49,640, and that funding is coming from unexpended funds. In the town hall heating system project we finished under budget, and so we'd like to repurpose that balance for those items that I just discussed relating to the town hall and annex. Article 9, we're seeking to purchase a 6-wheel dump truck with plow and spreader for the highway department, $175,000 from free cash. That would replace the 1998 highway department dump truck, which is now it's in pretty bad condition. It has a rusted frame. It did pass an inspection. The highway department was told it most likely will not get an inspection next year. And it is in the shop constantly for repairs. And obviously when they need it most during the snowstorms. We're also seeking $100,000 to continue with our program of public shade tree cutting and maintenance. There's still a significant number of trees that have been weakened by droughts and insect infestations. So that's really a safety issue, and so we would like to continue that and have that money available to be spent over the next year or so. Article 11, what we're trying to do is repurpose the debt. Since the police and fire project came in under budget, and those monies were borrowed, we'd like to apply that to the Pine Grove School as a way to keep the borrowing costs down. So that's at the advice of the financial advisors of the town and the bond council. Article 12, we're looking, as the board had requested, to get an appropriation for a cost estimate for the construction of a recycling center, and that at that proposed location of 516 Newburyport Turnpike. Article 13 is at my request, the $6,000 to pay for the cost of conducting a town employee pay equity and gender analysis, and this is under the amended Massachusetts Equal Pay Act. And we've been advised that we need to do that study to make sure the town is ensuring fair and consistent pay practices between genders. Article 14, we're seeking a $20,000 appropriation for compliance with new occupational health and safety requirements. The cities and towns have been exempt under OSHA, and the governor recently signed a bill that went into effect in February that makes the state law, Chapter 149, Section 6.5, meet the same standards as OSHA. So there's a number of training programs. I know the fire chief mentioned it when he made his budget presentation. We're actually gonna consolidate under one spending article for that, and that would include highway. Even all town departments have to follow some of these guidelines and develop best practices and workplace and health safety guidelines. Article 15, this is something that I've requested to be put in along with the IT coordinators, $15,000 from free cash to create a new town website. We felt that our website has fallen behind in the times, and I have very limited financial resources and upkeeping, and we have excellent models of city and town websites from some of our neighboring towns that would like to have that startup money to really look and get a new website that's much more user-friendly for the townspeople. Article 16 is a request that came in from Raleigh Community Media. They need to upgrade their camera equipment and their technology standards to conform with HD. I guess standard definition to high definition. We do have some cameras that need to be replaced, so that's $70,000 that's coming out of the cable fund. Article 17 is a water department article, and that's relating to funds that will be used to replace valves at Prospect Hill Storage Tank. And you saw some of these during Water Commissioner Bernie Cullen's budget presentation. The following article, once again, it's for continued funding for Prospect Hill Storage Tank, and Article 19 is continued funding for distribution of main valves and continued projects that the water department has. Article 20 is the standard annual CPA funding article.
Debbie, I'll interrupt you there. In the annual town meeting, there's also a CPA article there, which looks very similar.
Oh, yes.
To this,
This is the standard FY19, so once the actual revenue comes in, this is for fiscal 19. This updates what was voted on at the April 30th annual town meeting.
Oh, okay.
Until we actually know what the state is giving. There's a recalibration of the amounts based on what actually came in. So so what the CPA administrator has done is now updated these numbers
Okay.
on the allocations. And then we'll have another one in the annual for FY20.
Right,
But
okay.
once again, it's based on those estimates. We're not sure what the state's gonna give, what they're matching. They don't really match anymore, but what their portion will be. Article 21 is an appropriation from the Community Preservation Committee and the Housing Authority. There's a grant to the Housing Authority for $260,000 under the affordable housing for the window replacement and roofs on certain buildings there. Article 22 is a CPA appropriation for $20,000 for the town clerk to use to digitize town records. I think it's a continuation of a project that the town clerk is working on. Article 23, we're seeking authorization from town meeting to lease property off Smith Lane. We currently have a lease with SBA for a cell tower, and that will expire later this year, and the town is obligated to issue a new request for proposals to lease that to another company for a similar, to lease it to a company that submits a proposal for a cell tower. Article 24, this article pertains to some prior discussions relating to the Didex Corporation perhaps donating their building to the town, where that requires town meeting approval. Article 25 is a article that was put in by, at the request of the Conservation Commission to transfer a parcel of land on Saunders Lane. This was discussed in detail at a prior meeting with the conservation agent. And this is part of that subdivision that was approved back, I believe, in the early 2000s. Article 26, the cemetery board is asking to update their cemetery bylaw, and so they've deleted sections 15, 17, and 16, and they have some new language there that pertains to the fees schedule tied to the graves and some pricing on that. They're trying to strike out the actual fees in the bylaw, and that they would be determined by the Board of Cemetery Commissioners, so that they wouldn't always need to go to town meeting to update those, to keep up with the rates that they should be charging. Article 27 is the amendment to the Wetlands Protection Bylaw that the Selectmen had discussed with the Cemetery Commission last fall. Article 28 is an article submitted by the Shellfish Constable to update the Shellfish Bylaw. They're deleting section 7.3B, 7.3C, and replacing it with a new 7.3B, which authorizes the Shellfish commissioners to authorize them to promulgate regulations establishing fines and penalties. Article 29 is the house-to-house salesman bylaw. The Board of Selectmen had a presentation on that by the police chief a while ago. This has been reviewed by the town's attorney. One question that we have on that the board needs to decide tonight is on page 11, subsection 8, renewal fee. We need to have a renewal fee tied to that. If you so choose to have one, could be $20, it could be nothing. So you see that blank on page 11.
There's no current fee now, I think.
No, this isn't really going to be a replacement of the house-to-house salesman. It'd be a whole new bylaw, and there was no annual fee tied to this. License renewal fee.
Do we need to decide that tonight?
We should decide it tonight because we're running out of time. So there's one question that I had for the board.
Any thoughts?
Tom Mullen had suggested $20, or if not, nothing. It's up to you.
Bernie?
Why wouldn't you use the finesse that the cemetery committee has and leave it blank at the moment and say it's to be determined by and identify the appropriate bodies?
Well, I don't know if that language is going to
Would be the police chief, right? The police chief, in contrast to the cemetery commission, meets in public meetings that are advertised in advance, where the police chief doesn't do that. So that's one issue.
Yeah, so you have to look, if you're charging a fee, what is the cost to process this application, so that, if you're having public employees process applications for these businesses to come in and apply for these type of licenses, the filing application is $20, so that's already in the bylaw. You see that on page 10. So this would be the renewal fee. Is there some renewal fee that can be used to offset the cost of processing these renewal applications, these renewal licenses at
Someone like to make a motion for $20?
20 or 10, I have no idea.
I
or
make a
nothing.
motion for $20.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Article 30 is the Retail Village Overlay District submitted by the Planning Board. And there's a map that shows that. That's out on Havel Street near Route 95. Next article, 30. Next article is the zoning change on Route 1. And that one, it has two maps submitted by the planning board. Showing the northbound and the southbound. Okay, and then the planning board has a third zoning article pertaining to a transit-oriented development overlay district, 375 Main Street. And the town planner submitted a map on that, that's on page 23. That's the overlay district. The final article is a citizen's petition that was submitted for a zoning change for 293 Weathersfield Street, which is located at the intersection of Route 1 and Weathersfield Street. And the town's attorney said that that cannot be changed, it will go in as printed.
Right, I was going to mention that, and so we were advised that we had to include both the text of the article as well as the explanation included in the citizens petition. But to counter any misunderstanding, we inserted a phrase at the end, inserted by citizens petition. The explanation is included in the warrant because it was part of a citizens petition. The explanation does not necessarily reflect the views of the Board of Selectmen or the Planning Board. So the Planning Board will be holding a public hearing on that Wednesday night.
Okay, yeah, so this is what we have for the articles. Now, one article that that I spoke to you about, Mr. Chairman, today, was the fingerprinting bylaw that the police chief desired to be put in here. We were still working on that, and knowing that the warrant is quite extensive as it is, this is just a special. Does the board wish to still have me work on that with the town council and the amount of time we have? Or is this something that maybe the board would be willing to put off to a future town meeting?
I think we can put it off. I mean, what we just read is, what is it, 33 articles, is just the special town meeting. And that's a lot of material and just a special. And I think if, at this late date, if we're still working over the language, I don't see why it can't be put off to the next town meeting.
Right, I would agree.
So that would be your decision, then could the board just take a vote
Yes.
on that? Then?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All's in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All's opposed? The ayes have it.
I don't know if you want me to continue.
No,
with
yeah,
this.
so now we have a public, yeah, we'll put that aside. Put the annual town meeting aside and proceed to an 8 PM public hearing on a liquor license, alteration of licensed premises application filed by Stephen Morris. Mr. Morris here today?
He's not here today. He's taken a personal leave of absence, so he's stepped down as the president. And we currently have an interim president who couldn't be here this evening because his son is being confirmed. So he was unable to come. So I touched base with Debbie on this early in the week to let her know that it would be me, and I brought Jen Ferrante.
You identify yourself for the
Oh,
record?
sorry. My name's Caroline Jean, and I'm the manager of the RBA.
I'm Jennifer Ferrante.
And you are
My right hand.
sitting on your right hand?
She's on my right hand.
Okay, I'll read the notice of public hearing first. Notice is hereby given in accordance with Chapter 138 of the Mass General Laws as amended, that the Raleigh Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Monday, April 8th, 2019 at 8 PM in the Raleigh Town Hall, 139 Main Street, Raleigh, upon application of the Raleigh Veterans Association President Stephen Morris for an alteration of licensed premises to include the use of an upstairs lounge and service bar area and upstairs function hall for their existing club license. Business is located at 19 Bradford Street, currently consisting of a lounge and service bar downstairs. Anyone wishing to comment should attend this hearing. Written comments will be accepted. Okay, the applicant has paid all taxes, water bills, and electric bills. The building inspector has issued an occupancy permit to the RVA for use of the second floor. That was previously an issue. The current liquor license for the first floor is attached. I'll call for a motion to open the public hearing.
Give you a motion.
Second.
Motion to open the hearing is made and second. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. We've received some comments from the building inspector, police chief, fire chief, health service coordinator, and town planner, and I'll try to go through those as quickly as I can. I can find them. Here we go. The building inspector said he has issued an occupancy permit, as I said, for the second floor, and he did not have any other comments. The police chief said so long as the building inspector and fire chief are satisfied with the structural changes, the police department has no concerns with the expanded use. The fire chief says the RVA has met all conditions for the occupancy. The fire department has no further concerns or comments. Finally, we received a letter or memo from the town planner, Kirk Baker. I'm not going to read the memo, but he suggests that given that the operations are going to be expanded into the upper floor, the second floor, and that there's been no site plan approval applied to this site, the proposed use of the upstairs as an extended assembly area incidental to downstairs lounge and service area may, because of the expansion in building capacity and amount of area associated with the service of alcoholic beverages, constitute an intensification of the existing use and thus trigger the need for a site plan review of the on-site parking, along with consideration of the adequacy of on-site screening to prevent negative impacts to abutting residential properties. I think Kirk was under the impression that this is a new use, the use of the upstairs floor, and when in fact it's really not a new use. It was interrupted, but it was a use that was carried out in the past, correct? So for that reason, while I would say Kirk would normally, I think his recommendation would normally be a valid one, it doesn't really apply in this case, because this is something that's gone on before. Bernie?
Yeah, has anything changed in the intervening period, though? It does seem that location, parking is fairly tight and would have to flow onto the street as far as I can imagine. So, because it's a continuing activity, when was the last time the site plan review was actually conducted? And does it still hold? Have the ordinances changed to such an extent that it would make it problematic now?
I'm going to venture a guess and say that there was never a site plan review of this establishment, which is true for a lot of older establishments in town. It's just the way things were done ages ago. And I think we generally respect that until there is an expansion of the use, which then would trigger a requirement for a site plan review. Doesn't seem to me that there is really an expansion in this case, looking at the history. And we have no, the police chief didn't express any concerns about parking.
Yeah, it's just a continuation
Yeah.
of the use of the building.
Right.
There's no expansion to the
No.
existing.
Same occupancy was prior to interruption.
And finally, we received an email from, I believe in a butter, Mr. David Zizza, dated April 8th, to the Board of Selectmen. I reside at 29 Bradford Street, Rowley, Mass., and am an immediate abutter to the Rowley Veterans Association. I was given notice of the RVA's intention to apply for a liquor license for the main floor function hall. Given the proximity to the quiet surrounding neighborhood, it is my hope and that of my neighbors that the board consider imposing a closing time of no later than 10. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Mr. Zizza is not here tonight. What is your... Pardon me?
I'm present.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi.
Anything to add to that?
No, I mean, I guess I was just wondering what their plan was going forward for the proposed.
That's what I was going to ask. So what were your closing hours before?
I believe that the closing, I went through a few years' worth of records to find out what sort of functions were upstairs, of what I could find, and it seemed that it was baby showers, graduation parties, funerals, birthdays, weddings, fundraisers, like Halloween special parties. And they were 4-hour rental periods, and it seemed like about were like 7:30, 11:30 p.m., 7 to 11. I know in the past they had concert, or what do you want to call it, a concert? Maybe that
they
might have
had
been.
some
And the
live-
Patriot
live
Riders
music.
with their band up there that time.
And a band that, so, I think that to respect the neighbor, and understand his concerns, I think the music could stop between 11 and 11:30 and cleaned out. Majority of the functions are DJs. They use their own, we're looking at our sound system to make sure it's adequate. They could use their phones. A lot of people now use their phones for music. I think that they've had like one concert, I don't want to call it a concert, a band. They had the Fools, I think, as a fundraiser.
But the Fools ended, I want to say, at like 10. They didn't go that late.
10 or 11, yeah, 10,
Yeah.
10:30.
I could, that was at 1 o'clock. That was 1 o'clock.
Yeah, I wouldn't do, I mean, I agree. I think 1 o'clock. I think that we need to be closed. I mean, I think the music, I think 11:30, according to here, 11:30 would be fair, but I think the building, I would like to keep it at the midnight, because then people can close up, clean up, they can gather their stuff and leave. I think, we're also looking at windows we have a new air conditioning system that was put in last spring.
So the windows won't be
So the
open
windows won't
like
be
they were
open.
last year.
Because they had outdoor air conditioning, like windows of air conditioning. Now it's a new system, so now we'll have the noise. Somewhat. But I don't think 1 o'clock we would, I don't know.
Well, that's clear.
That was
be out by
prior
1.
management. I don't really know who would have had the band going till 1 in the morning.
I mean, I don't know how the other board members feel, but I think 11 o'clock time is for music is reasonable.
Yes. I would agree.
Okay.
So if I could, like, there are obviously, like, for instance, they could still serve alcohol. So I guess my thing is, once you set up an 11 o'clock mandatory cutoff for music, then how does it become enforced? Where this site has had constant issues about regulating their own, this suddenly becomes something where now, all right, it's music till 11, but they can serve alcohol till 1. There might be a crossover from the music. Now it passes through and it's at 11:30.
But everyone's going to be out of the building by 1.
I'm curious, we're talking the upstairs, correct?
Right.
Okay, so just make that clear, that we're talking if they're having any functions.
What's the
Generally,
closing time for downstairs?
The closing time is 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
Yeah,
Everyone's out.
so,
Well, I think as long as you prohibit the music, whether live or otherwise recorded, you require that to be shut off at 11. And if some people linger upstairs, I don't think that's going to be causing the neighborhood huge. You won't be hearing that thumping bass, that you do.
And this would be Monday through Sunday, correct?
Right. Right, 7 days a week.
upstairs again too, because we have downstairs, we have the video, we have a jukebox that plays, and we haven't had any problems with our music to date since we've reopened. So,
There's never been an issue, with the back. It's
Okay.
always been the front.
yeah, I mean,
And again, they're in a very hard situation as well, because they rent out the front portion, and the staff typically, correct me if I'm wrong, the staff is typically in the downstairs area, so I would have to put a call into the staff, and they would have to come up and it wasn't like, it was always on them to have to kind of police the activity with the patrons. So it's really on them to have to continue to reinforce behavioral modification with their people.
so which we have a bartender that's going to be on duty
Two,
for the
yeah,
function
yeah.
upstairs.
One upstairs,
If we
one
have an
downstairs.
upstairs. If we don't, if there's no liquor to be served upstairs, we can, we have a crowd. We had to talk to the fire chief anyways about the crowd control. So we would have somebody on site at least to keep an eye on the function. I can't speak for the prior management. I can't speak for what happened. I'm just trying to tell you what my goal is going forward is to try to make everybody happy in the neighborhood, but also be able to, operate the upstairs, to not hurt our business, and also to, in a sense, help the community and stuff that we're gonna hopefully be able to provide to the town as well, so.
Bernie?
What's the town's noise bylaw? I thought it was before 11 o'clock. Isn't there a bylaw that covers the?
I don't think we have a noise bylaw. There are state rules. Do we have it? Yeah, I don't think we did. Okay.
I can give you my number, Debbie Brown, so we can work things out.
But our concern is to cut off the music
Music at 11 o'clock
Yeah,
upstairs.
Upstairs.
Yes, yeah. It's fair, I think.
And the license would be for when? The calendar year, rest of the calendar year, or?
Yeah, so we would have the board, just as any modifications with existing license, they would have to approve it. We would send it to the ABCC for final approval.
So that issue could always be revisited.
That's right. If
On
there was
renewal.
ever an issue
Right.
with any violating any terms of the license, the board could have another hearing on that.
Okay, is there anyone present who would like to speak on the application? Call upon the members of the board if they have any further questions or comments. One thing about, so the president has resigned, does that require a new application?
Yeah, so I spoke to Ms. Jean on Friday about this. The board, it may be in some transition, so when they get those official written resignations from the president and take their vote, she'll be back before again for a
Yeah.
change of board application. And you may know the correct term since ABCC revised this.
Change of officers and directors.
Right.
Change of officers and directors application, so.
Okay.
It requires a board meeting, and they haven't had that yet. There was no change with the board members. It's just someone stepped in as interim president right now. I think they're talking either June or, I know September is their annual, according to their bylaws, for the annual meeting and
I'm pretty
officer
sure they
elections.
said June, though, that's what they were saying the other day.
I've heard things, maybe June might be a meeting to elect. So as soon as I know, I will let you know, and then I can get that paperwork.
Yeah, start the application, and you also, I believe, just aside, you'll have to go to file with the Secretary of State's office, I
Right.
believe, all your new board members and update that listing, because the ABCC will want it back if that's not.
Does that
updated.
require another meeting here? Do I have to go in front of?
The application for the change of officers will need to come back here,
Okay,
but you just want to make sure when you have your corporate meeting, that those documents are filed with the Secretary of State, and then you can submit that with your application. It just advances the process.
okay. Yep.
Much more, quickly than have that be a loose end.
Yeah, I remember when we did the first one, they
Yeah.
wanted everything up to date, Secretary of
Yeah.
State, so when they got the application, it was complete.
That's right.
Yeah, I remember that.
And there's no timing issue on that?
I think that they haven't had their board
Yeah.
meeting, as I understand, so there's still on record, Stephen Morris is the president until they actually have their board of directors hold that meeting,
Okay.
and then they send that documentation into Secretary of State.
Okay, if we're satisfied with the application and no further questions, I would ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll give you a motion.
Second.
Motion to close the public hearing has been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Any further discussion? No further discussion. I would ask for a motion to approve the application with the condition that all music, whether live or recorded, be terminated in the upstairs at 11 p.m. each day.
I'll give you that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second that.
Motion to approve the application with that condition has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just confused because that would be under an entertainment license, and what's before you tonight is the liquor license?
Oh,
Alteration of premise.
you mean the change of president would be?
No, the alteration of premises.
Oh.
So you're voting on music, which would be under an entertainment licensing. So with adding on that condition, that would be a different topic. You know,
Well,
the license is for a pouring license, if you're allowing it on the second floor, is the time gonna be consistent with the first floor, or, you know,
So, I mean, are you suggesting
The
it's
music-
inappropriate to have that condition on this
well,
license?
we do issue entertainment licenses that are separate from this.
Right,
So I don't.
So that's a separate issue.
Yeah, so the liquor license will deal with alcohol pouring, that's what the hearing is about tonight.
right. And
So what are the hours for the pouring? We currently have 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. on weekdays and 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. on Sundays, and this is for the lounge surface, the downstairs. So now they're gonna be expanding onto the second floor, so is the board going to continue with the same hours for the first floor as the second floor?
For pouring,
For
yes.
pouring.
But we can't oppose an additional condition that deals with
Well,
music?
that's a separate statute, entertainment licensing.
So do
So
they,
sometimes we have, they would have to come before us if they were having a public event, that they were selling tickets, they would come and get an entertainment license.
Do we need to rename the last motion that we made?
Well, I just don't understand how that fits in under what was before the board tonight, was the liquor license, alteration of premises for pouring.
so they don't have a license for having music at the
Well, they
present?
will, if they have public events, then they will be coming in for that, but
Oh.
the music, we've never put music on a liquor, a liquor license.
So that means that if you put on
If you
an
want to,
event
you
with
can. I'm
music,
just
you're gonna have to
saying.
come back with a.
You
Well, I would
know,
like to keep the
license.
condition personally, but,
I have a question about that also, because the entertainment. I think, I was going through the files and I found that there was a weekly entertainment permit. Remember we talked about, so, I understand if it was a big event, a public event, a fool's concert or something like that, I understand, or if we did, I think they did a rally outside or whatever they had to do, that we'd go in and we'd have to apply for, go to the planning board, apply for an entertainment for that specific. I think my question is, so to run a function, if I have a birthday party and they're gonna bring in a DJ, or if I have, every time I do a function, is it, I have to come in and get the permit, or can we have a weekly can we have an entertainment for those types that states 11 o'clock? You
So
can run that.
The
kind of a-
entertainment licensing is for events that are for the public. Yeah, we've had other businesses in town.
But she doesn't need it for an individual event, she can get it for
For
a.
the private event, so if it's a private party and there's music, that wouldn't be the entertainment license.
right.
So
Well, I'd like to
Respect that.
maintain the condition, even though it may not be, seem totally kosher, but I think it's important for the neighborhood.
It's the unwritten rule.
Right, so we hope you comply with the voluntary,
Yes.
But are we
But if
gonna
I-
set an entertainment license that they can, not have to come in every time you wanna set up for have a party or
Overall
a.
entertainment license.
Well, if the entertainment, we don't have a bylaw if we follow the statute. So I just wanted to clarify with the board on the alteration of the premises. What are the hours for pouring on the second floor? That, I don't think I've been clearly addressed.
Yeah, they're the same as the first floor.
It's gonna be the same,
Yeah,
so if
right.
that was in the motion, then we have that vote,
Right,
which we need to send to the ABCC.
okay, so
And we'll
you
put
want
in
you
the
want a new,
other-
you want a new vote on that, or?
Well, the vote was for the condition that the music, on the music, but there was no inclusion
Yeah,
on what
okay.
the pouring hours are for the second floor, which they now have an occupancy permit for.
So the motion should be to approve the application with and have the hours for pouring for upstairs at the same time as downstairs, and with the additional condition that no music upstairs after 11 PM each day.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, all's in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All's opposed? You guys have it.
Thank you.
Amy's going to prepare the local licensing authority summary form tomorrow, and we'll let the board know when it's ready to be signed. The application, along with the summary, needs to go to the ABCC for further review and their approval.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you, thank you.
Did we close the hearing now?
Huh?
We have to close the hearing?
Oh, I think we did. Did we close up public hearing?
Yes,
Yeah. I thought
we
did.
closed the hearing.
Okay.
You know, it's hard to.
I know.
Okay,
Back to warrant.
I think we're back to the annual town meeting warrant. I think that's the last thing, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Annual town meeting warrant.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, so we have the Article 1 here on acts and reports on boards and committees. Article 2 is required under the town meeting bylaw. Article 3 is...
Excuse me, can I interrupt for just a second? David, could you just do your duty one more time? Thank you.
Article 3 sets the salary of elected officials, and this was all discussed during the budgeting process. Article 4 will be the omnibus budget that will be placed in here. Article 5 is the water budget that the Board of Selectmen has already recommended. Article 6 is the transfer from the enterprise fund to the general fund for things that they owe the town for the course of the upcoming fiscal year. You've already reviewed that with their accompanying revenue statement. Article 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 are all water department articles that you saw in the budget package that Commissioner Collins had presented a couple weeks ago. We're just doing some editing on some of these that are in this draft. We're working with him on that. A number of capital items and things. Articles 13 through 15 are standard articles we vote on under one consent motion pertaining to the sale of electricity. It's submitted by the Municipal Light Board, the Harbor Masters, appropriation of $4,500 from the Municipal Waterways and Improvement Fund, so that's tied to the state funds that he gets. And Article 15, the assessors put in each year for the recertification of the properties. Article 16 is an annual article that we put to authorize the revolving funds that we have in the town. Article 17 is the annual appropriation for the Raleigh Community Media budget to operate the local access cable channel. Article 18 is an annual article from the Health Department to transfer funds from the Massachusetts Water Pollution Abatement Trust Septic Loan Program. Article 19 is an article that the assessors are submitting that, if passed, would increase the amount of the exemption for senior citizens in the town. And that language is statutory. I know you had to ask me a question about that, Mr. Chairman, and that's how the wording comes from the statute. Article 21 approves and funds the memorandum of agreement that the board signed this evening with the AFSCME union. Article 22 is an article that will fund the Teamsters Local 170 Fire Union agreement that we are working on right now to be signed. Article 23 is the annual community preservation committee budget.
And that's for fiscal 2020.
This is the fiscal 20, yes, budget. Article 24, at the request of the Board of Selectmen, we have an article to have the position of elected treasurer collector become an appointed treasurer collector. Article 25 is an article that was submitted at the request of the Agricultural Commission. They're looking to reduce the number of members from 7 to 5. They are having a hard time getting quorums, and they can't conduct their business as needed. Article 26 is a citizen petition article that was submitted relating to support of a special commission relative to the seal and motto of the Commonwealth. And Article 27 is a citizen's petition for an article to rezone a portion of land off Captain Circle. Article 28 is an article that appropriates $600,000 to purchase a new pumper fire truck. And this, it would be funded through a combination of free cash and borrowing. Article 29 is a vote that would authorize the Board of Selectmen to create a capital stabilization fund. So this would be a special savings account that we would use for the purchase, to save for the purchase of large-scale items such as the dump truck we spoke about at the special, save up for another pumper truck. That, you know, the pumper truck we're talking about replacing right now is a 1987. So I think that the next one in the fleet is a 2002 pumper truck. So I expect if we can save some funds, that would be the next one to be replaced in a few years. And if we can use monies from a stabilization account where we can deposit savings from the town, then we'd be using that rather than borrowing, or certainly not going for debt exclusion overrides.
Be very expensive to upgrade the Han,
Yeah.
which is the 87.
Yeah, that was the 1987
Yep.
truck that the chief is saying now he can't use. Article 30 would appropriate $200,000 from free cash and put it into that newly created stabilization fund if that passes. Article 31 continues our program of funding other post-employment benefits trust fund, OPEB. So each year we do try to set aside the financial advisors of the town, the rating agencies. I'll recommend a continuous savings program into that OPEB trust fund to pay for future costs of retiree health insurance. Article 32 puts $50,000 in the stabilization fund, so if you just continue with that, it's at 1.3 million now, but when you have an almost $20 million budget, if you had a catastrophe, you know, you really have to think, is that enough to handle what we have to pay for? But it just continues with our program. The rating agencies like to see that. The final article is the standard ballot article. It's just an informational article on the town election ballot.
Thank you.
Questions on anything?
Anything? No, thanks, great job, it's a lot of work.
A lot of work.
If the board would like to think about a date to maybe sign the warrants, the FinCom will be meeting tomorrow night. If they finish in one night, that's fine. If not, they have Wednesday set aside as a potential date to finish their review of the articles. I was thinking maybe the board could meet Thursday morning at maybe 9 to finish this up so that we
that
can
good?
get it to the printer.
Thursday night?
Sure.
It's
9
a
o'clock
large-
is okay with me.
It's a large printing project. We do have a really thick warrant this year, so we expect it could take a few days. And then get that out in a bulk mail, which is about 3 days for bulk mail and in
Can
time
we do
for
10
the-
o'clock, just to,
I don't believe that Mr. Peterson will be available at 10.
oh, okay, all right.
And
All right,
that's
no
why I
problem.
had suggested 9, I'd seen, but I'm not sure if the rest of them will.
It's fine with me.
All right,
Whatever.
that's fine.
10's fine too.
Sure.
Is that a public meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, it will be a selectmen's meeting. It will be a special meeting, though, we probably will have no other business then to sign the warrants. And then we would try to get that warrant out soon enough that everybody could get it before April 29th. So we would try to get it the week of April 22nd, hopefully by the middle of that week. We will also have it on the website. Most people today might just go to the website and just look it up once it's been posted by the constable. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. I guess that's it. Take a motion to adjourn.
I give that motion.
Second.
Motion to adjourn, so made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.